Captain Zex Varanthi stood on the bridge of his warship, watching the stars through the massive viewing ports. His scaled hands gripped the metal railing as he studied the tactical display. 300 cycles he had served the Galactic Council, and in all that time, no species had ever challenged Krillian dominance. The bridge around him buzzed with activity. His crew moved with the deadly grace that made Krillians feared across known space. Each warrior bore the scars of their homeworld, Krill Major, where only the strongest survived to adulthood. The weak died in the lava pits or became food for the great hunters that stalked the volcanic plains. "Commander," his tactical officer hissed, her forked tongue tasting the air. "The survey reports from Sector 7 Alpha have arrived." Zex turned his reptilian head toward the communication station. His yellow eyes, adapted to see through the toxic fumes of his homeworld, focused on the incoming data stream. "Display the findings." The holographic projector showed a small solar system on the edge of unexplored space. 9 planets orbited. A yellow star, but the third world immediately caught his attention. The scanner readings made his cold blood run even colder. "By the Great Flame," he whispered. The planet displayed every marker of a true death world. Massive oceans covered most of the surface, stirred by violent storms that would crush a Krillian battleship. The continent showed active volcanic zones, earthquake fault lines, and mountain ranges that reached into a thin atmosphere. The gravity reading was 20% higher than Krill Major. His science officer, Sub-Commander Thek Zorvani, approached with additional data tablets. "Sir, the atmospheric composition is even worse than we first thought. 21% oxygen content. That level would be toxic to most Council species. The Nebulan Collective would die instantly. Even the Tidal Empire would struggle in those conditions." Zex studied the readings more carefully. The planet showed signs of abundant life, which seemed impossible given the hostile conditions. No civilized species could evolve on such a world. The Krillians themselves had only survived their homeworld through centuries of brutal warfare and natural selection. This planet appeared even more deadly. "What about the life signs?" Zex asked. "Extensive biodiversity, sir." The scanner readings indicate millions of species competing for resources. Large predators roam both land and sea. The ecosystem appears to be in a constant state of warfare. Thek paused, double-checking his data. "Sir, some of the predator readings are larger than our own flame dragons." The bridge fell silent. Flame dragons were the apex predators of Krill Major, creatures so dangerous that even Krillian warriors avoided them when possible. The idea that this distant world harbored even larger threats was almost unthinkable. Zex felt a familiar stirring in his warrior's heart. For too long, the Galactic Council had been at peace. The 5 ruling species had divided known space among themselves, with the Krillians serving as the military arm that kept order. The crystalline Vorthek managed trade and commerce. The gaseous Nebulan Collective handled deep space exploration. The aquatic Tidal Empire controlled the water worlds. The plant-like Chlorophyll Federation managed agricultural planets, but all of them deferred to Krillian military might, because only the Krillians could survive death worlds. "Prepare a claim beacon," Zex ordered. "This world will make an excellent training ground for our finest warriors. Perhaps we can finally breed a generation worthy of the ancient Krillian legends." As his crew began preparations, Zex allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. The other Council species had grown soft in their comfortable environments. They relied on technology and diplomacy to solve problems that required tooth and claw. Only the Krillians remembered what it meant to be true predators. His communication officer interrupted his thoughts. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission from Nexus Prime. The High Council requests an immediate report on our survey findings." Zex activated the long-range communicator. The image of High Commander Vex Thalorian appeared on the screen. his ancient scales bearing the ritual scars of a dozen Deathworld campaigns. Behind him, the great chamber of Nexus Prime stretched into shadows, filled with representatives from all 5 council species. Report, Captain Varanthi. High Commander, we have discovered what appears to be the most hostile Deathworld ever recorded. The planet exceeds even Krill Major in terms of environmental dangers. I request permission to establish a military outpost and begin training operations. The other council representatives moved closer to hear the report. Zex could see the familiar mixture of fear and respect in their eyes when Krillians discussed Deathworld operations. The Vorthok delegate, a being of living crystal, chimed softly with concern. The Nebulan representative, a cloud of sentient gas contained in a mobility suit, flickered with nervous energy. Show us the data, Thalorian commanded. Zex transmitted. The survey results to Nexus Prime. The silence that followed stretched across the light years between them. Finally, the Tidal Empire delegate, speaking through her water-filled communication tank, expressed what they were all thinking. Surely no intelligent life could evolve under such conditions. This world must be claimed and quarantined before its dangers spread to civilized space. Agreed, said the Chlorophyll Federation representative, his tree-like form swaying with agitation. Such a world could only produce monsters. Zex nodded in agreement. In all their centuries of expansion, the Galactic Council had never encountered a species that could match Krillian resilience. The harsh environments that forged his people into the galaxy's premier warriors were unique. This new Deathworld would serve as the perfect proving ground for the next generation of Krillian soldiers. Permission granted, Captain, Thalorian said. Establish a perimeter around the system and begin preparations for colonization. This world will become the crown jewel of our military training facilities. As the transmission ended, Zex felt the familiar fire of conquest burning in his chest. Soon, the deadliest world ever discovered would bow before Krillian might. He had no way of knowing that far below on the planet's surface, in cities and towns across the continents, members of a species called humans were going about their daily lives, completely unaware that they had just been marked for conquest by beings who considered themselves the ultimate survivors. Captain Lisa Parker stood in the command center of New Geneva Colony, watching the radar displays with growing concern. The alerts had been coming in for 3 days now. Unknown ships at the edge of their solar system, running what looked like survey patterns around the outer planets. Ma'am, we're getting more detailed scans now, reported Lieutenant Dave Chun from the sensor station. These aren't like anything in our databases. The hull composition is unknown, and the energy signatures are completely alien. Lisa studied the tactical display. 12 ships in formation, each one larger than Earth's biggest cruisers. Their movement patterns showed military discipline. These weren't explorers or traders. They were scouts preparing for something bigger. Get an Admiral Scott Morrison at Earth Defense Command, she ordered. Priority channel. The communication screen flickered to life, showing the weathered face of the Admiral. Behind him, Lisa could see the busy command center at Luna Base, where Earth's defense forces coordinated their activities across human space. Captain Parker, I've been reviewing your reports. How certain are we about these readings? 98%, sir. We've had 3 different sensor arrays confirm the signatures. These ships are using technology we've never seen before. Their power output suggests weapons capabilities that could threaten our entire colony. Admiral Morrison was quiet for a moment, weighing the implications. Human space consisted of 12 colonies spread across 6 star systems. Earth remained the center of their civilization, but colonies like New Geneva served as early warning stations for threats from deep space. I'm sending the Pioneer to your location, Morrison said finally. Commander Jake Sullivan will handle first contact protocols. We need to know what we're dealing with before these ships get any closer to Earth. 3 days later, the exploration Vessel Pioneer dropped out of hyperspace near New Geneva Colony. Commander Sullivan immediately contacted Captain Parker for a full briefing. His crew included some of Earth's best diplomats and scientists, led by Dr. Amy Chun, the colony's leading expert on xenobiology. "Commander, the alien fleet is holding position near the gas giant," Parker reported. "They've launched smaller scout ships toward Earth. Our long-range sensors show they're conducting detailed scans of our homeworld." Sullivan studied the enemy positions on his tactical display. The alien ships moved with the confidence of a superior force. Their formation suggested they expected no resistance from whatever primitive species they might encounter. "Dr. Chun, what's your assessment of their technology level?" Dr. Chun reviewed the data on her portable scanner. "Their ships show advanced metallurgy and power generation capabilities. Based on their scanning patterns, they're mapping our planets for resources and habitability. This looks like preparation for colonization. Or conquest," Sullivan added grimly. The Pioneer approached the alien fleet using standard peaceful contact procedures. Sullivan ordered all weapons powered down and broadcast mathematical sequences followed by simple pictographs showing peaceful intent. The response came quickly and was not encouraging. The alien ships immediately changed formation, surrounding the Pioneer with weapons obviously charged and ready. A harsh, guttural voice came through the communication systems, speaking in an unknown language that the translation computer struggled to decode. "Sub-Commander." Thek Zorvani stood on the bridge of his survey vessel, studying the primitive ship that had approached his fleet. The craft was smaller than a Krillian shuttle and appeared to be constructed from inferior metals. Whatever species built it clearly lacked the technology for serious space warfare. "Hail the vessel," he ordered his communications officer. "Demand identification and purpose." The translation systems worked to decode the alien response. The primitive beings claimed to be peaceful explorers from the third planet. They called themselves humans and requested dialogue about territorial boundaries. Thek found their weakness amusing. "Third planet?" he asked his science officer. "That death world we were sent to claim?" "Yes, sir." "Impossible as it seems, these creatures claim to have evolved there." Thek studied the readings from the alien ship more carefully. The crew showed life signs consistent with carbon-based organisms, but their physiology was completely different from any known species. They appeared fragile, with thin skin and no natural armor or weapons, yet they had somehow developed space travel. Perhaps they evolved on one of the other worlds and only recently discovered the Death World, Thek suggested. "Send them our standard incorporation offer." On the Pioneer, the translation computers finally decoded the alien message. Commander Sullivan read it twice before calling Dr. Chun to the bridge. "They want us to surrender," he said simply. "They're offering us protection under something called the Galactic Council in exchange for complete submission to their authority." Dr. Chun frowned as she studied the message. "They keep referring to Earth as an unclaimed death world. It sounds like they think our planet is uninhabitable." "Request a face-to-face meeting," Sullivan decided. "We need to understand what we're dealing with." The meeting took place on a neutral shuttle halfway between the two fleets. Commander Sullivan and Dr. Chun represented humanity, while Sub-Commander Thek brought two of his finest warriors as escorts. The moment Thek saw the humans, his predator instincts activated. Despite their fragile appearance, something about them triggered deep survival responses in his reptilian brain. The humans moved with controlled precision, their eyes constantly scanning for threats and escape routes. Their calm demeanor seemed forced, as if they were restraining themselves. "You claim to be from the third planet," Thek said through the translation device. "Explain how your species survived conditions that would kill most civilized beings." Dr. Chun shared basic information about human evolution and Earth's environment. As the translation systems processed the data, Thek's certainty began to waver. According to these readings, Humans had not only survived on the Death World, but had thrived there for millions of years. "Your data must be incorrect," Vex said. "No intelligent species could evolve under such extreme conditions." Commander Sullivan leaned forward slightly. "What makes you think our world is so dangerous?" Vex shared the Krillian survey data, expecting the humans to be impressed by his species' superior knowledge. Instead, he watched as the humans exchanged glances that seemed almost amused. "You consider 21% oxygen toxic?" Dr. Chun asked. "And you think our gravity is extreme?" "Your planet shows massive predators, violent weather systems, and geological instability," Vex replied. "Only the strongest warrior species could survive such conditions." Sullivan's expression grew serious. "Sub-Commander, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Earth isn't a death world to us, it's our home." The shuttle fell silent as the implications of that statement settled over. Both species. Vex realized he was not looking at primitive refugees from a hostile planet. He was facing representatives of a species that had conquered what might be the most dangerous world in known space. For the first time in his military career, Sub-Commander Vex Orvani felt something he had never experienced before: fear. The emergency session at Nexus Prime began 3 hours after Sub-Commander Vex's initial report reached the Galactic Council. High Commander Vex Thalorian called together the ruling body's most senior members, their faces showing the strain of processing impossible information. Dr. Kith Vex, the Council's chief xenobiologist, stood before the massive holographic display showing Earth's detailed survey data. Her crystalline form reflected the harsh lights as she addressed the assembled delegates from all 5 species. "The data has been verified through 7 independent analysis systems," she announced. "The humans are telling the truth. They evolved on the planet we designated as Survey Target 7 Alpha 3. The Nebulan Collective representative, contained within his environmental suit, flickered with agitation. "Impossible. No species develops intelligence under such extreme survival pressure. The evolutionary energy requirements alone should prevent advanced brain development." "Yet here we are," replied the Tidal Empire delegate, her aquatic form moving restlessly in her tank. "Faced with a species that not only survived conditions worse than Krill Major, but developed space travel while doing so." Dr. Vex activated additional displays showing comparative analysis between Earth and the homeworlds of all Council species. The results were disturbing. Earth exceeded every known parameter for hostile environments. "Their gravity is 30% higher than our standard," she continued. "The atmospheric oxygen content would be lethal to 3 of our 5 species. The planet shows active geological processes that would require immediate evacuation protocols on any civilized world." High Commander Thalorian studied the readings with growing unease. "What about their biology? How do they compare to established species?" "That's where the data becomes even more concerning," Dr. Vex replied. "Humans show enhanced pattern recognition abilities, accelerated healing rates, and stress responses that actually improve their performance under pressure. Their bone density is 40% higher than baseline, and their muscle fiber efficiency exceeds Krillian standards." A collective silence fell over the chamber. For centuries, the Krillians had dominated the galaxy based on their superior physical capabilities and Deathworld origins. The idea that another species might exceed their abilities was almost unthinkable. Captain Parker led a diplomatic delegation aboard the heavy cruiser Defiant as it approached Nexus Prime. The human ship looked small compared to the massive alien vessels surrounding the station, but its clean lines and efficient design caught the attention of Council engineers. General Pete Morrison commanded the human military contingent, while Dr. Amy Chun represented their scientific community. As their shuttle docked with the station, they could see aliens watching from observation decks, studying them with obvious curiosity and concern. The formal introduction ceremony took place in the Council's main chamber. Representatives from All 5 species gathered to meet the humans face to face. The encounter was carefully staged, with each group positioned to avoid any appearance of threat or submission. High Commander Thalorian spoke first, his scarred reptilian features imposing. In the chamber's dramatic lighting, "Humans of Earth, you claim dominion over a planet that our surveys indicate should be uninhabitable. Explain how your species achieved this impossible feat." General Morrison stepped forward, his calm military bearing contrasting with the obvious tension in the room. "With respect, High Commander, there's nothing impossible about our evolution. Earth is our home. We adapted to its conditions over millions of years." "Adapted," repeated the Vorthek delegate, her crystalline voice resonating strangely. "Our analysis suggests your world would require massive terraforming projects to support civilized life." Dr. Chun activated her portable display unit, showing images of human cities, farms, and natural environments. "These are current images from Earth. As you can see, we've built our civilization to work with our planet's natural systems, not against them." The images showed humans living alongside creatures that made the council delegates uncomfortable. Children played in parks where predators that would require military containment on other worlds were treated as normal wildlife. Humans swam in oceans filled with hunters that could bite through Krillian armor. "You keep predators as companions," observed Sub-Commander Thak, who had joined the session to provide his first-hand observations. "Your data files show humans living with creatures that would be classified as dangerous weapons on any civilized world. Dogs and cats aren't weapons," Dr. Chun replied. "They're family members. We've had partnerships with various Earth species for thousands of years." She showed additional images of humans working with horses, dolphins, and other Earth animals. To the council delegates, it looked like a species that had somehow formed alliances with their planet's most dangerous inhabitants. Instead of hiding from them, General Morrison noted the delegates' reactions and decided to address their concerns directly. "I think there's been a fundamental misunderstanding about human capabilities. We're not unusual by Earth standards. Our planet produced us because it demanded survivors." "Explain," commanded High Commander Thalorian. "Every species on Earth competes for resources. The successful ones develop better hunting strategies, stronger defenses, or more efficient cooperation methods. Humans succeeded by becoming the most adaptable predators on our planet." The word predators sent a ripple of unease through the chamber. The council had dealt with warrior species before, but always ones that were obviously dangerous. Humans looked deceptively peaceful, which made them far more unsettling. Dr. Vex activated her analysis system and began running real-time scans of the human delegates. The results appeared on screens throughout the chamber, showing physiological data that made several delegates step back in alarm. "Their heart rates are completely stable despite being surrounded by potential threats," she reported. "Brain activity shows constant tactical assessment of their environment. Muscle tension indicates readiness for immediate combat response." "That's just normal human awareness," Dr. Chun said. "We always monitor our surroundings for potential dangers. It's basic survival behavior." "Basic survival behavior," Thalorian repeated slowly. The implications were becoming clear. What humans considered normal caution would be considered extreme hypervigilance in any other species. Chlorophyll Federation delegate, his plant-like form swaying with agitation, spoke for the first time. "How many of your kind exist?" "Earth's population is approximately 8 billion, General Morrison replied. "Our colonies add another 50 million across 6 star systems." The number hit the chamber like a physical blow. 8 billion apex predators from the most hostile world ever discovered, now spreading across space with technology that had brought them to the attention of the Galactic Council. Dr. Vex's scanners continued analyzing the human delegates, revealing additional disturbing details. Their reaction times exceeded Krillian standards. Their pattern recognition capabilities suggested they were constantly running tactical scenarios. Most unsettling of all, their stress responses were actually improving their performance rather than degrading it. "Sub-Commander Thek," Thalorian said quietly, "in your professional military assessment, how would humans perform in combat situations?" Thek looked at the human delegates, remembering his first encounter with them. "Sir, I believe they would be the most dangerous opponents we have ever faced. They think like hunters, move like warriors, and show no fear responses to threats that would panic civilized species." General Morrison heard the exchange and realized the Council was evaluating humanity as a potential enemy. "High Commander, we didn't come here to threaten anyone. We're explorers and diplomats, not conquerors. Yet you carry weapons," observed the Tidal Empire delegate. "Standard security equipment," Morrison replied. "We always prepare for unknown situations." The casual way he said "always prepare" sent another chill through the chamber. These humans didn't just adapt to hostile environments. They expected them. High Commander Thalorian looked at his fellow council members and saw his own thoughts reflected in their expressions. They had discovered a species that exceeded Krillian capabilities in every measurable category, possessed technology that brought them across interstellar space, and numbered in the billions for the first time. In galactic history, the Council faced beings who might be more dangerous than themselves. High Commander Vex Thalorian stood before the assembled War Council in the secure chambers beneath Nexus Prime. The most senior military leaders from all 5 species had gathered to discuss the human situation. The atmosphere was tense with the weight of unprecedented decisions. "The humans have agreed to participate in the Deathworld trials," Thalorian announced. "They seem to view it as a cultural exchange rather than the evaluation it truly represents." General Kix Morthan, the Krillian military's top strategist, studied the human personnel files on his display. "They've selected teams for each trial. Their choices are interesting. They're not sending their obvious warriors." "Explain," commanded Thalorian. "For the atmospheric trial, they selected Captain Danny Brooks, an engineer. For the pressure trial, Dr. Kate Wilson, a marine biologist. The Predator simulation will be handled by Commander Rick Hayes, but he's described as a special operations instructor, not a frontline warrior." The War Council members exchanged glances. Most species would send their strongest fighters to prove their capabilities. The humans were sending specialists as if they viewed the trials as technical problems rather than tests of courage. 3 days later, the first trial began on Testing Station Alpha. The facility was designed to simulate the toxic atmosphere of Krill Major, with sulfur compounds, volcanic gases, and temperatures that would melt most metals. Observation decks allowed the Council delegates to watch the proceedings safely. Captain Danny Brooks entered the preparation chamber with his 3-person team. They wore environmental suits that looked primitive compared to Krillian combat armor, but their equipment checks were thorough and professional. Brooks explained each safety procedure to his team with the calm efficiency of someone who had done this many times before. Sub-Commander Thek led the Krillian team into their side of the testing facility. His warriors moved with the confidence of beings born to such environments. They wore minimal protection, relying on their natural adaptations to survive conditions that would kill most life forms. "Begin the trial," Thalorian commanded from the observation deck. The test required both teams to navigate through a complex obstacle course while performing technical tasks under extreme environmental stress. The Krillians moved quickly, using their natural resistance to the toxic atmosphere. But the humans surprised everyone with their systematic approach. Brooks coordinated his team with hand signals and simple communications. They moved slower than the Krillians but made no mistakes. When they encountered obstacles, they solved them methodically. Their environmental suits worked perfectly, their equipment never failed, and their teamwork was flawless. "How are they?" "Performing so well?" asked Dr. Vex from the observation deck. "Their physiology should be failing under these conditions." "They prepared for this," replied General Morrison, who was watching with the council delegates. "Captain Brooks has worked in similar environments on Earth: volcanic vents, toxic mining operations, industrial accidents. This is just another day at work for his team." The Krillian team finished first, but the human team completed more of the technical challenges correctly. Both groups had succeeded, but in completely different ways. The Krillians had survived through natural toughness. The humans had conquered the environment through preparation and skill. The second trial took place on Testing Station Beta, designed to simulate the crushing depths of the Tidal Empire homeworld. The pressure was enough to flatten most spacecraft, and the environment was completely underwater with added chemical hazards. Dr. Kate Wilson led the human team into the preparation area. She reviewed the pressure readings and depth requirements with the casual attention of someone checking a weather report. Her equipment included diving gear that looked simple but functioned with remarkable efficiency. The Tidal Empire delegates entered their native environment with natural confidence. Their aquatic forms were perfectly adapted to extreme pressure and toxic water conditions. They moved through the test facility like it was their own home. "The humans cannot possibly survive those pressure levels," predicted the Tidal Empire representative. "Their bones will crush and their organs will fail." Dr. Wilson's team entered the water and immediately proved the prediction wrong. Their diving equipment compensated for the pressure, while their training allowed them to navigate the underwater maze with surprising skill. Wilson identified several toxic species in the water and calmly guided her team around them. "She's treating those creatures like their normal marine life," observed the Tidal Empire delegate with growing alarm. "Those are some of the most dangerous organisms in our oceans." "We have similar species on Earth," Dr. Wilson explained through the communication system: "venomous jellyfish, aggressive sharks, toxic sea snakes. You learn to work around them." The human team not only completed the trial, but collected biological samples along the way. Dr. Wilson's scientific curiosity had turned the survival test into a research opportunity. The council delegates watched with growing unease as the humans treated their most dangerous environments like interesting puzzles to solve. The third trial moved to Testing Station Gamma for the Predator simulation. Commander Rick Hayes entered the facility with a team that moved like professional soldiers, but showed none of the aggressive behavior typical of warrior species. The simulation created holographic versions of the most dangerous predators from known space. Creatures that had driven entire species to extinction roamed through a complex maze, designed to test survival instincts and combat capabilities. Hayes studied the facility layout for exactly 30 seconds before moving forward. His team spread out in a formation that provided mutual support while allowing them to adapt to changing threats. They encountered the first predator within minutes. The holographic beast was based on the flame dragons of Krill Major, creatures that had killed thousands of Krillian warriors over the centuries. Hayes' team reacted with calm precision, using the environment to their advantage and coordinating their movements to confuse the creature's attack patterns. "They're hunting it," whispered Sub-Commander Thek from the observation deck. "They're not trying to escape or hide. They're actively hunting the predator." The human team moved through the simulation like apex predators in their own territory. They analyzed each threat, developed countermeasures, and executed coordinated attacks that neutralized creatures the Council considered unstoppable. When they encountered multiple predators at once, Hayes' team didn't retreat. They used pack tactics that turned the hunters into the hunted. Their movements showed the fluid coordination of beings who had evolved by conquering rather than hiding from their planet's dangers. The final trial was psychological, designed to break the spirit of any species that might challenge Council authority. The humans were subjected to scenarios of planetary destruction, resource scarcity, and species extinction. Instead of showing panic or despair, the human teams began immediately planning survival strategies. They treated potential extinction events as logistical problems to solve. Their psychological profiles showed stress responses that actually improved their decision-making abilities. Dr. Vex reviewed the complete trial results with growing dread. In every category, the humans have exceeded our projections. They don't just survive extreme environments, they master them. High Commander Thalorian studied the final reports from all 4 trials. The humans had not only passed every test, but had done so while treating the Council's most dangerous challenges as routine obstacles. General Morrison, Thalorian said to the human military representative, "Your species has capabilities that exceed our most optimistic estimates. How many worlds like Earth exist in your space?" "Earth is unique," Morrison replied. "But humans have adapted to conditions on dozens of different worlds. We don't terraform planets to suit us. We adapt ourselves to suit the planets." The implications hit the Council like a physical blow. Humans didn't just come from one death world. They had turned dozens of worlds into homes by adapting to whatever conditions they found. For the first time in galactic history, the Council faced a species that might be more dangerous than all of them combined. And they were just beginning to understand what that meant. The emergency session of the Galactic Council lasted 18 hours. Behind closed doors, the 5 ruling species debated humanity's place in the galaxy while their military advisors presented increasingly disturbing analysis reports. High Commander Vex Thalorian called for silence as the final vote approached. The debate had revealed deep divisions among the Council members. Some demanded immediate military action while others argued for diplomatic solutions. "The Krillian Empire votes for full military alliance," Thalorian announced. "The humans have proven themselves worthy partners, not threats to be eliminated." The Vorthat delegates' crystalline form chimed with disagreement. "Our economic projections show humans will disrupt established trade routes. They adapt too quickly to new environments. Our terraforming industry will become obsolete." "The Nebulan Collective agrees with the Vorthic position," flickered their representative. "Human expansion patterns suggest they will claim every habitable world in known space within 50 years. The Tidal Empire delegate moved restlessly in her tank. "Our naval forces cannot match human deep-water capabilities. They treat our most dangerous ocean worlds like recreation areas." Only the Chlorophyll Federation remained undecided. Their representative swayed thoughtfully before speaking. "We have reviewed the agricultural data from human worlds. Their food production methods could end scarcity across the galaxy. This outweighs our concerns about their military capabilities." The vote was tied, 2 species for alliance and 2 against, with the Chlorophyll Federation holding the deciding voice. Thalorian realized that the galaxy's future depended on humanity's next move. Commander Jake Sullivan entered the Council chamber with Dr. Amy Chun and General Pete Morrison. They had been waiting outside during the long debate, aware that their species' fate was being decided by beings who still saw them as potential conquerors. "The Council is divided on how to respond to your capabilities," Thalorian said directly. "Some members fear that humanity will dominate the galaxy as we once dominated it." Sullivan stepped forward, his diplomatic training helping him choose careful words. "High Commander, we didn't seek out the galaxy to conquer it. We found it because we were looking for something else." "Explain," commanded the Vorthic delegate. Dr. Chun activated her data display, showing star charts that made the Council members lean forward with sudden interest. "Our deep space monitoring stations have detected anomalous energy signatures approaching from outside the galaxy. Something large is coming, and it will arrive within 10 years. The display showed tracking data that the Council's own scientists had missed. Objects moving at impossible speeds through intergalactic space, following trajectories that would bring them into contact with inhabited systems. We've been preparing for first contact with galactic civilizations, General Morrison explained. But we've also been preparing for contact with something else. Our analysis suggests these objects are not natural phenomena. High Commander Thalorian studied the data with growing alarm. Why didn't our deep space sensors detect these signatures? Because you weren't looking for them, Dr. Chun replied. Earth's position on the galactic edge gives us a different perspective. We've been watching the space between galaxies for decades. She showed additional displays revealing the scope of humanity's preparation efforts. Human colonies were strategically positioned to provide early warning coverage. Their military technology was designed for threats that the Council had never imagined. You've been building a defense network, observed the Tidal Empire delegate. Not just for your own space, but for the entire galaxy. We learned long ago that survival means protecting your entire ecosystem, Sullivan said. On Earth, when one species faces extinction, it affects everything else. We think the same principle applies to galactic civilization. The Council chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. Humanity hadn't been expanding randomly across space. They had been positioning themselves to defend against threats that the galaxy's established powers couldn't even detect. What exactly are we facing? SDHALORIAN. Dr. Chun displayed the latest analysis data. Automated war machines, probably from a civilization that destroyed itself millions of years ago. They're programmed to eliminate any spacefaring species they encounter. Our estimates suggest they've already consumed dozens of galaxies. The technological specifications were terrifying. The approaching machines showed energy outputs that exceeded anything in the Council's arsenals. Their construction methods suggested a civilization that had converted entire star systems into weapons. How can we possibly defend against such forces? Whispered the Chlorophyll Federation delegate. General Morrison stepped forward, his military bearing commanding attention. By working together. Human technology alone isn't enough, but combined with Council resources and knowledge, we might have a chance. He displayed human defense preparations that had been underway for decades. Hidden weapon platforms, experimental technologies, and strategic resources that had been quietly assembled while the Council debated territorial boundaries. You've been preparing for war while we've been maintaining peace, Thalorian said, with grudging respect. We've been preparing for survival, Morrison corrected. On Earth, peace is something you earn by being ready for war. The vote that followed was unanimous. The Terran Accords were signed within hours, establishing humanity as the sixth member of the Galactic Council and combining their resources for mutual defense. But the real work began immediately afterward. Joint task forces started integrating human and Council technologies. Corellian warriors trained alongside human special forces. Vorthek engineers studied human adaptation techniques. The Nebulan Collective shared deep space navigation data, while the Tidal Empire opened their ocean worlds for combined naval exercises. Dr. Chun worked with Council scientists to expand the early warning network. Human monitoring stations were upgraded with Council sensor technology, while alien worlds received human-designed detection equipment. 6 months later, Commander Sullivan stood on the bridge of the joint defense vessel Terra Nova, watching the first combined fleet exercises. Human ships moved in formation with Council vessels, their crews working together with the efficiency born of shared purpose. Captain Lisa Parker, now promoted to Admiral, coordinated defense preparations from the command center on Nexus Prime. The station had been transformed into a fortress that combined the best of all 6 species' military technologies. Admiral, we're receiving the first confirmed contact signals, reported Lieutenant Dave Chun from the sensor station. The automated machines have entered our galaxy. Estimated time to reach inhabited systems is 18 months. Admiral Parker studied the tactical displays showing the approaching threat. Hundreds of machine vessels, each one capable of destroying entire worlds, moving inexorably towards civilized space. "All stations, this is Admiral Parker," she announced across the combined fleet communications. "Operation Guardian begins now. All species, all worlds, all of us together." The response came back in 6 different languages, but with the same determination. The galaxy's defenders were ready. High Commander Thalorian stood beside Admiral Parker, watching the combined fleet deploy toward the galactic rim. Krillian warriors, human marines, Vorthic engineers, Nebulan pilots, Tidal Empire naval forces, and Chlorophyll Federation support teams working as one unified force. "They thought we were the only Deathworlders," Thalorian said quietly. "They were wrong, but perhaps they were also right." Parker looked at him questioningly. "Perhaps," Thalorian continued, "Deathworlders aren't defined by surviving hostile planets. Perhaps they're defined by making hostile galaxies safe for everyone else." The combined fleet moved toward humanity's greatest test, carrying the hopes of 6 species and the determination of beings who had learned that survival meant protecting more than just themselves.